You don't have to chop it as finely unless you want to, but I just like to chop mine a little fine. Let's see if we can get it all. So. And just scrape it off into your onions, peppers, and now you're going to take a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and I put in a tablespoon of flaxseed. You don't have to, but I do it anyway. Just a tablespoon of it. And sprinkle it in there. Here's my garlic powder, my teaspoon of onion powder, a half a teaspoon of parsley flakes, and a half a teaspoon of black pepper, or you can use white pepper if you don't have the black pepper. Then you pour, this is a half a cup of just eggs, and I'm putting in a half a cup of just eggs. Along with all of my other seasonings. So now you're going to take your barbecue sauce. You can use any barbecue sauce you want. I use honey barbecue sauce by Sweet Baby Ray. You're going to put it in a half a cup of that, although it tells you to put in like 2 tablespoons of ketchup. I use the barbecue sauce because I prefer it. So you can use whichever one. You can use the barbecue ketchup. And you just put it in your bowl. Now, you can get a large spoon and mix this up. Or you can put on your gloves and mix this up. I'm putting on gloves because I don't like the feel of it. So I'm putting on my gloves. If I could get my gloves on. I'm a little nervous here, so y'all have to bear with me with these gloves. Last night I did it fine, practicing. But today I don't know. I think they're trying to give me a hard time today, but put your gloves on. Because when you use your spoon, you might not get it all mixed in there good. So you just dig in there, start mixing, get it all in there. Mix it very well. You know, I did forget something. You can put a half a teaspoon, I'm sorry, a quarter teaspoon of salt in this and mix it all up. I didn't put the salt because there's people in my family that has high blood pressure, and I didn't put the salt in here, but it's only a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. And make sure all of this is mixed very well, thoroughly well. And get it all in there. So now I'm going to take my gloves off, get my pan ready. And your oven should already be on. Taking off my surgical gloves. you get your parchment paper and get a loaf pan and put it in here and make sure you have the outside overlapping the pan. You get your cooking spray and you spray it on the sides. Last night it went in perfect, but for some reason it don't want to act right. And you just put it inside. And this probably isn't looking very pretty here, but just do it. Dump it all in here. Make sure you get everything out, especially your onions and your peppers and your garlic. Mold it. And sometimes the recipe will call for like a tablespoon of olive oil in here also. But I didn't put any oil in here because I sprayed it. And I sprayed the pan. But still, if you put olive oil in your mix, just make sure you still spray your pan as well. Trying to bring it down so you can see what it looks like in your pan. And just shape it into the loaf. And you can also use, excuse me, let me wash my hands again. You can also use a half a cup more of barbecue sauce. But since I'm used to doing this, I'm just gonna drizzle it across the top of my meatloaf. And you can just pour it over the top of your half a cup. Or less. Depends on how much barbecue sauce or ketchup you want on it. And you take your knife or your spoon and just spread it over the top. Almost like you're frosting a cake. I'm gonna put a little more, just a tiny bit more in here. And then I'm gonna wrap it up with aluminum foil over the top. Aluminum foil over the top. Put it in the oven. 375, and you're gonna let it cook. I let my first one I made cook for an hour and 10 minutes, but this, you can let it cook for an hour and 35 minutes. And 15 minutes after it's all, I just noticed something wrong, excuse me. One hour, 35 minutes, and start. And while that is cooking, and this is the finished product of what your meatloaf should come out and look like. So, after it's down to 15 minutes, you open your oven, take the aluminum foil off, and let it finish browning for the last 15 minutes in the oven. so your barbecue sauce can look like a glaze on top of it. And that's how you make an impossible meatloaf. And so while you're waiting for that, you will, if you want to add something to your meatloaf to make it a full course meal, you get your potatoes, red skin potatoes. I have 3 of them, and they are medium sized, but you can use smaller ones. But I have 3 medium sized red skin potatoes. I'm going to chop them up, cut them into little bite-sized pieces. They don't have to be real small. Because while your meatloaf is cooking, you can start on this. And this red skin potatoes and green beans does not take long to cook. So you can start it now if you would like, or you can wait till your meatloaf is almost finished. But I'm doing this now because I'm on camera with you guys. Cutting my potatoes. And make sure your potatoes are washed thoroughly. I washed these earlier so I can be ready and prepared to just throw them in the skillet. And I only used 2 because one of the potatoes was pretty big, so it depends on what size your potatoes are too. You can use the golden potatoes or the red skin. I prefer the red skin. So then you get 2 cloves of garlic. Two cloves of garlic. And smash them. Cut off the ends to help the peeling process come off easily. Set that there. Get your other one. That's your garlic cloves. Chop them up like I did with your meatloaf. And you don't have to chop this, is fine. And then you're gonna get your onion. I use the red skin onion, but you can use any kind of onion you want. You can use the white, you can use the yellow, you can use sweet Vidalia onions, whichever onion you prefer. And you just cut your ends off. And let me clear off some of my mess here. Throw it in the sink. And use the whole onion if you like, or just a half of it. I'm going to just use half. And rinse thoroughly. Rinse with cold water, not hot. Okay, so now I'm gonna go over here to my stove, and I'm going to turn the skillet on. You can put this in a pot or a skillet, whichever you prefer. I'm going to take out 3 tablespoons of oil. Put my onions in. You can also put green peppers in this if you would like. Stir, get my onions all glazed up, a little translucent. And I think I'm gonna put a little more onion in that. Depends on how much onion you like. And I think I'm gonna put the other piece in here. So it was a whole medium red onion. Like I said, you can use a whole onion, half of an onion, or a quarter of an onion. Depends on how much onion you like. And you just cut. And take it over and put it in your skillet. Get that aroma of onion. You're going to put your garlic in. Your 2 cloves of garlic. You want your onions and green peppers to go first and get them all tender up, because after the garlic in last, so it can get that aroma and have that smell, and you can taste your garlic after it's cooked. So then you add your potatoes. And you're going to get a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Sprinkle that in there. Make sure you still stirring. And I'm gonna go to the refrigerator, which I forgot to take out my vegetable broth. You will use a half a cup of vegetable broth. And pour that in that soup with the potatoes, garlic, onion, salt. And you can add a little pepper, a little rosemary. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of garlic powder. Teaspoon of garlic powder. And you can add whatever kind of seasoning you want. And if you want a little kick in your green beans, you can add a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper or a half a teaspoon of pepper flakes. Stir. Get your colander. Even though they tell you do not rinse your green beans, I always rinse mine. I don't care what they say in the store. I rinse mine anyway. Cut it open. Rinse the green beans. With cold water, rinse thoroughly. Any excess water, shake it off. Dump it in with your vegetable broth and potatoes. Turn your heat down on medium or low. I put mine on low. Depends on how you want yours. Stir it. And if you feel like you don't have enough vegetable broth, you can add more, however you prefer. And then you just get your lid. Turn it on, and you have a meal. And you let this cook for about 30 minutes or until your green beans are tender, however long. If you like yours crunchy, they can stay for 20-25 minutes. But my husband likes his a little more tender, not crunchy. I prefer mine's crunchy. And that is your meal for the day. And if you feel like making a dessert, pick whichever dessert you want to make and make it. But this will slice just like if you were eating a regular meatloaf made with turkey burger. But it's a little more moist and soft. And this is what your meatloaf will look like when it's all done and you're ready to serve it. You can serve it with gravy, make you some gravy or buy gravy or however you prefer. And that is the finished product of your vegan meatloaf. And your green beans are cooking as well as your meatloaf. And that's the end of Cooking with Cherry. I was nervous as a cat, but I got through it.